It is 7:30 p.m. You have been at work for 9 hours. She has been at work for 9 hours. You're both home, you're both hungry, and one of you is going to have to ask a question that has ended more evenings than any argument in human history. What do you want to eat? And she says, I don't know. What do you want? And you say something. You suggest something, Thai food maybe, or pizza, or that new place you've been meaning to try. And she says, I don't really feel like that. So you try again. You offer 3 more options. Each one gets a slightly different version of the same face. And 20 minutes later, you are both standing in the kitchen, hungrier than when you started, and somehow also slightly annoyed at each other about it. Here's what I need you to understand. She is not doing this to you. Her brain is doing it to her. And the science behind why is so specific, so well documented, and so completely not her fault that by the end of this, you will never have that conversation the same way again. Let's start with the actual mechanism, because this is real psychology, not relationship advice. In 2011, a researcher named Shai Danziger published a study on Israeli parole judges. He tracked over 1,000 parole decisions across a single day and looked for patterns in when judges said yes versus no. What he found had nothing to do with the crime, nothing to do with the sentence length, nothing to do with the judge's politics or experience. It had to do with when in the day the decision was made. Right after breakfast, judges approved parole about 65% of the time. As the morning went on, that number dropped. By mid-morning, it was below 20%. After lunch, it shot back up to 65, then dropped again, then hit nearly zero by end of day. The same judge, the same type of case, wildly different outcomes, based entirely on how many decisions they'd already made that day. Psychologists call this decision fatigue, and it is one of the most robust findings in behavioral science. Every decision you make, every single one, all day, draws from the same cognitive battery. Big decisions, small decisions, doesn't matter. What to wear, whether to reply to that email now or later, what to order for lunch, what to say in the meeting. Every one of them costs something. And by 7:30 p.m., after a full day of work, your girlfriend's decision battery is at about 4%. She is not being indecisive. She is running on fumes. But here's where it gets more specific, because decision fatigue alone doesn't fully explain it. There's a second layer. In 1995, psychologist Roy Baumeister ran a now famous experiment at Case Western University. He brought in participants, told them not to eat for several hours, then put them in a room with 2 things: a plate of fresh-baked chocolate chip cookies and a bowl of radishes. Some people were told they could eat the cookies. Some were told they could only eat the radishes. Then, and this is the part that matters, everyone was given an insolvable geometry puzzle and told to keep trying until they solved it. The cookie people kept at it for an average of 20 minutes before giving up. The radish people, 8 minutes, less than half. They hadn't done more work, they hadn't thought harder about anything, but they had spent the entire day and then that session restraining themselves, holding back what they actually wanted, making choices that required suppressing impulse. And that restraint had drained the exact same resource that decision-making uses. Baumeister called it ego depletion. The science on the exact mechanism has been debated since then, but the core observation that self-control and decision-making share a limited resource has been replicated across dozens of studies. Now think about your girlfriend's day. She was professional in meetings when she didn't want to be. She was patient with someone who didn't deserve it. She held back what she actually wanted to say in at least 3 different conversations. She made choices about her words, her reactions, her presentation, her schedule, all day, constantly, in ways that required managing herself. By the time she gets home, the part of her brain that processes what do I actually want is genuinely, measurably depleted. So when you ask her what she wants to eat, you're asking her to fire up a cognitive engine that has been running hot all day, and it just won't start. But wait, there's a third layer, and this one is my favorite, because it's not just that she's tired, it's that food is uniquely hard. In 2000, psychologist Barry Schwartz published research that eventually became a book called The Paradox of Choice. His central finding was counterintuitive and a little uncomfortable. More options don't make decisions easier. More options make decisions harder, and they make people feel less satisfied with whatever they eventually choose. He called the people who fall hardest into this trap maximizers, people who need to feel like they found the best possible option, not just a good enough one. And the research showed that maximizers, when faced with a wide range of choices, take longer to decide, feel worse during the process, and are less happy with the outcome even when it's objectively good. Food is the perfect maximizer trap. The options are essentially infinite. There's every cuisine, every restaurant, every dietary preference you're currently trying to maintain, whatever you ate yesterday that you don't want again, whatever sounds right for how you feel right now, which is itself a feeling you can't quite name because, again, depleted. And here's the thing about emotional eating cues, the "I don't know what I'm in the mood for" feeling. That's not vagueness, that's your body trying to match food to an internal emotional state that's not always easy to identify. Researchers call this interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense and interpret your own body signals. Some people have high interoceptive awareness, some don't. And when you're stressed or depleted, everyone's interoceptive awareness drops. So she's not just failing to pick a restaurant, she's failing to read her own body, which is giving her ambiguous signals which she's trying to decode with a brain that's already exhausted. She genuinely does not know what she wants. That is a real, neurological, measurably true statement. Now, here's the part that nobody talks about. It's not symmetrical. Studies on decision fatigue consistently show that the effect is stronger in people who have spent more of their day in social and emotional labor, and who, on average, is doing more of that. It's not a knock on anyone, it's just what the data shows. The management of other people's feelings, the social navigation, the reading of rooms. That work is invisible. It doesn't show up in a job title, and it is ferociously expensive on the decision-making battery. A 2019 paper in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who reported higher levels of daily emotional labor showed significantly steeper cognitive depletion by evening, including in tasks involving preference identification, which is a very academic way of saying the more of your day you spent managing how other people felt, the harder it is to figure out what you want for dinner. She is not worse at making decisions. She has been making more of them, all day. The invisible kind. So what do you actually do with this? Because the science is interesting, but you still have to eat. Researchers who study decision fatigue have a surprisingly consistent answer, and it's not make her decide, it's the opposite. The most effective thing you can do, proven across multiple studies on depleted decision makers, is to reduce the option set to almost nothing. Not where do you want to eat, not Italian, Thai, Mexican, or that new place on Fifth, not a menu with 40 items. 2 options, maximum. Do you want Thai or pizza? That's it. That's the whole move, because 2 options is a comparison, not a search. The brain handles comparisons even when it's depleted. It's the open-ended search, scanning all possible options to find the optimal one, that crashes the system. There's a follow-up to this that the research also supports, which is that deciding for her, fully, confidently, with a specific plan, works even better when she's depleted. Not because she can't decide, because in that moment, having someone else carry the cognitive weight of the decision is genuinely, measurably relieving. It's not weakness, it's neuroscience. We're getting Thai. I'm ordering the noodles. Want the curry or the soup? Watch what happens. There's a man named Op Dijksterhuizen, a Dutch psychologist who spent years studying what he called unconscious thought theory. His argument was that for complex decisions, decisions with many variables, many trade-offs, many preferences to weigh, your conscious mind is actually the wrong tool for the job. The conscious mind is good at logic, rules, sequences. The unconscious mind is better at synthesis, at pulling together all the variables simultaneously and arriving at something that feels right without being able to explain why. Which is why when you stop asking, stop presenting options, and just make a call, she almost immediately knows if it's right or not. Not because she was withholding the answer, but because a decision only became clear the moment someone else made it. That's not a relationship dynamic, that's cognition. Here's where I land on all of this. The what do you want to eat conversation is not about food. It was never about food. It is a daily collision between 2 depleted people, one of whom has usually spent more cognitive and emotional energy getting through the day trying to fire up a decision-making process that ran out of fuel at about 4 p.m. And the frustration on both sides is real. It's just misdirected. You're not frustrated at her, you're frustrated at the friction. She's not being difficult, she's being human at the end of a very human day. Barry Schwartz, who spent his career studying exactly this, said that the goal is not to find the perfect option. The goal is to find a good enough option and commit to it. He called this satisficing, a combination of satisfy and suffice. And he found that the people who were happiest in their daily lives weren't the ones who always found the best option. They were the ones who stopped searching when they found something good enough. The perfect dinner doesn't exist. The right dinner for tonight, eaten without 20 minutes of friction, absolutely does. So next time, and there will be a next time, probably tomorrow, remember this. Her brain has been making decisions all day. The battery is real. The depletion is real. The ambiguity she feels about what she wants isn't a personality trait. It's a measurement of how hard she worked today.